Hi, my name is Corbin Paget. I'm the Specialty Services Planner for Belt Tech Industrial. I've been with the company for about 10 years now. What we're going to do is we're going to show several components on a conveyor that we have, a training conveyor. This is going to give us the basic overview on what parts and what components go onto a conveyor. We're going to go through some safety things that we have, also some of the products that we sell, and then the purpose of each one of those. So here we have just a safety guarding. It's typically painted in a bright color of yellow, and this is to prevent anybody from getting into moving parts within the conveyor. And we have the tail pulley with the take-ups on it that really help us to see how that works with the tensioning of the belt, and then also how we can choose different products for the selection. So here we just have a tail take-up. It's located towards the back of the conveyor, and we have on it a chevron wing pulley on the back. And what this is, it self-cleans, so any material that comes from the load point or that falls onto the structure on the return side, it will not damage the belt, but it will keep the material free of the tail pulley, and then that will allow the belt to track properly. Also, we have a V-plow towards the tail, and what that does, it helps prevent any material that comes into the tail pulley. Any debris, it will knock it off to the sides of the conveyor, preventing it from doing any damage to the belt itself. Now here we have a tail adjustable take-up. What these are, this is a top mount. You see the bearing mounts on top of the take-up, and what this has is a screw in the middle of it, and we have a nut at the end, and that will allow that pulley to move back and forth. And so one critical part is to have the same distance on each side of the take-ups on your tail. That way the belt can track where you need it to be. And moving forward, we have the load point, and typically right here you would have a chute that comes down with material in it, and whatever material might be conveyed. And we have skirt boards right here. And so the skirt rubber and the skirt clamps are what keep the material inside the load point on the conveyor, and then that allows it to be centered up within the belt. We have other parts on here as the slider bed. We have one little section here of a impact slider bed. And what this does, it creates a seal in between your conveyor belt and the skirt rubber, and then that will keep any dust and debris from coming out. It also causes less impact and wear on the belt itself, and helps it to last a little bit longer. Here we have a safety switch, and if something was to happen to be inside the conveyor, or if we see an issue with it, we would simply pull this cord and it would trip the motor, and that way the conveyor stops moving, and that helps us to stay safe. And then if it prevents any damage that can be caused later. We have several other components that we have with our rollers, our troughing rollers. There's many different styles of troughing rollers that we have. We have the regular cans. We also have the impact rollers. And we have a Moxie roller. This is for material that can build up very easily, like a gypsum type of material. Here we have a trough training roller. As you can see, this pivots in the middle, and if that belt tracks off one way or another, this will help correct that by these wheels, these guide wheels that are on there. Also, we have a return roller. This would be a product that we sell, the True Trainer, and that also has the same design. It pivots in the middle, and it allows that belt to track properly, going on the return side of the belt, going into the tail and the take-up if it has an adjuster on the back. Also, we have the same style as the troughing trainer, and this is another return trainer that we have by Superior, and again that pivots in the middle. It's a little bit different style than the True Trainer, but again it's the same concept. It helps to track the belt into making sure that it runs center of the conveyor. And here we have a safety guard for our return rollers, and they will prevent anyone from coming into the contact with the roller, the return roller. And that way it's a safety guard. And two, if it does build up with material, we have pins that come out and it flops down, and then you're able to clean that out. Two, we have a live roller. It's just a shaft mounted on pillow block bearings, and it lasts a little bit longer than the typical return rollers, but that also helps with tracking. Here we have our secondary scraper. This is a Hosh C-series scraper, and then right in front of that we have the B-series scraper that will go closer to the head typically. Then we have our primary scraper, which is a urethane composite material that helps get the bulk of the material off of the conveyor before it gets to the return side. These scrapers are used to prevent any buildup of material that's coming back that can cause premature wear of any of the components on the return side, the return rollers. Also, it keeps the belt from mistracking, and so the scrapers are a critical part of the conveyor. Here we have a lubrication system. As we use these, it's an automatic lubricator that has grease that's filled in it, and that helps purge any contaminants that come into the bearing. So it will extend the life of the bearing itself. Here we have an access door by ASCO, and this allows us to not only clean the head chute, but also helps us to give good visual inspections of anything that might be causing buildup within the head box, and then we can be able to inspect the primary and secondary scrapers oftentimes. Here we have the head pulley, which is also the drive, and as we start the motor, this will drive the belt around, and the drive pulley is not always located at the discharge end. Sometimes the drive pulley can be located elsewhere on the conveyor, but at the discharge, typically it's called the head pulley. Here are those other safety features that are on the conveyor. It helps us to see that to be safe, that there are many different safety factors that we can have. As you can see, guarding, again, it's in yellow in a bright color, and this prevents any tools, any fingers from coming in contact with moving parts. Also too, we have a pull cord switch. What this does is, as the conveyor is running, that if anything does happen, if the belt is misaligning or somebody happens to be in the conveyor or is in a dangerous area, what we can do is pull this cord and it will go all the way around the conveyor, and that automatically shuts off the motor, and that then allows the corrections to be made on anything that might be wrong with the conveyor, or if somebody is injured, then that allows them to be able to have help. So this is accompanied by a siren as the conveyor starts up. Then that is also a safety feature that helps others to see that the conveyor is about to be started. If we move back here to the tail, we have the top angle take-up, and what this does is that it's a little bit different from the top mount take-up that we saw before. And this has the bearing that is mounted in the center. It's the same concept with the all thread at the top, and then the adjusting nut that then helps that bearing and that pulley to be moved to the proper adjustment. You can see it's a little bit different position with the bearing. We have a bearing that mounts on a shaft here, and then the screw is covered at the top. What we do again, we just adjust the nut, and then that will allow that bearing to go back and forth, and then to keep the tension on the belt as we need it.